And welcome everybody to the Podcast Editors Mastermind, the only show for the business of podcast editing. I'm Carrie Caulfield. Eric, I'm your host tonight from Yaya Podcasting. And with me, I have,
Jennifer Longworth of Bourbon Barrel Podcasting.
And Brian Ensminger with Top Tier Audio. And unable to join us tonight was Daniel Abendroth from Roth Media.
Poor Daniel.
Yeah, very sad.
Yeah. I mean, he's still alive and everything.
Yeah. That did sound kind of dun-dun-dun, didn't it?
It did. It's okay. Poor us for not having Daniel's awesomeness around.
Yeah.
Anyway, today we're going to talk about Why am I saying that? So let's talk about the marketing challenge.
Let's talk about the marketing challenge.
Dun-dun, isn't it?
What?
That's another dun-dun-dun.
Dun-dun-dun. Yeah, we need to put like sound effects in this one. Let's talk about the marketing challenge. So first of all, did you do the marketing challenge, Jennifer and or Brian?
I did. I was running late to get it done. I think I finished up day 4 on Monday of this week. So I was about half a week late.
Should we say what the marketing challenge was just in case? Because I feel like that would be a good idea. And we can put it at the beginning of this.
Definitely.
Okay. So in the first week of January, the first full week of January, we ran a 5-day challenge through our newsletter to help podcast editors do some simple marketing things and reframe their mindset and relationship with marketing. That was the super secret part of the challenge that I did not tell you about. But it was to get you comfortable with creating content to put yourself out there and grab your ideal client's attention. And Kayla said, I just found out about the marketing challenge.
Yeah, so that raises an interesting question that I had, because it did come up that maybe somebody wouldn't have known about the challenge. So somebody's listening right now and they're thinking, hey, I missed it. Can I do the marketing challenge? Do we have that set up in a way that people can go and take part in it now?
We do have it on the website. And if you want to make a beautiful, pretty link for it, Brian, we could do podcasteditormastermind.com/marketing. For anyone listening to this in the future. And,
yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. And that'll give you all 5 days of the challenge.
Is it in the Facebook group as well?
Yes. I posted the link only one time, but since it was like a newsletter challenge and part of our goal was to get you to subscribe to our super awesome newsletter, right? This is an incentive for us in marketing to you guys. Dun, dun, dun.
I don't think I've subscribed to our own newsletter.
Are you kidding me?
So, how do I subscribe to the newsletter, Carrie?
You would go to podcasteditorsmastermind.com, simply scroll down the page a little bit and just enter your name and email address into the fields right there on the website.
Okay, I'm doing it now.
Super simple, and it's not spammy because I don't have time to spam you or set up complicated automations and funnels.
She really doesn't, because she spends all of her time doing stuff like this.
Yeah.
Carrie was the master of the marketing challenge. I mean, let's just go there, right? You basically put this whole thing together, and we talked about it, but you did it, right? So kudos to you for doing it.
Well, thank you. And hopefully it was helpful to people. I'm really hoping it was.
It was for me. I mean, the proof's in the pudding, right? 2 years from now, when it's still reaping dividends, that's when I say, yeah, that really made a difference. But I know it was helpful for me to think through that and to do some of this stuff. One of the challenges I've had is I've really not given a lot of effort to create a room on my website. I go and do a lot of stuff in Facebook groups. I answer a lot of questions. I do that kind of stuff, but I haven't really put a lot of material on my website. And so as part of this, one of the things we had to do is create some pillar content. I think that's what you called it, right?
Cornerstone content. And that term, because that's what Yoast SEO calls it, is cornerstone content. And
okay. So I went and did one of those. And then the next piece you have to do is go, okay, I've got this now. What are I think you said 5 pieces of micro content.
Yes.
And so that's another thing, right? If I do create something, I typically don't spend a lot of time working on the marketing. I do a graphic and a post or something like that. And to go create those 5 pieces of marketing collateral, that was kind of a big deal for me. I spent probably 3 hours doing that, going through, because I created materials for a Facebook post and then some materials for Instagram to create one of those carousels. Then I also went through and, as part of my thing, I named a couple of services people might want to use. So that I also created some tweets to highlight a portion of what I wrote into my blog post, and then tagged those services, hoping that they'll reshare it, which they haven't done yet, but who knows? It could happen.
That's always the hope, right? The help you get other eyes on it. But that's really awesome that you ran with it like that, because I think very often we don't, or when we think about creating content, and this is really content marketing. This is when you hear everybody talk about content marketing. Everybody needs to do it. This is really what it is. It's providing that content, that 101 style content that's going to help your SEO rankings, get people, to get to know you, understand that you are an expert and you're smart. Plus you have content then that you can share with your clients when they have a question on the subject, which I find really useful. Anybody you're trying to help, you don't have to sit there and explain it to them. You can be like, read this article. If you don't understand, book a coaching call with me for $99 an hour. But this is really that piece that when we think about content, we usually get stuck on kind of oh my gosh, this is so hard. I'm going to make this content and then I've got to make more content after that. Right. But the truth is, you don't need to make, you can get a lot of mileage out of one piece of content. Right. Because it's not just, it's I got to make this content and I have to make 5 extra pieces of social media content for everything else. It's no, you've got the content here. You just break it up in different ways and distribute it on, like you did, Brian, on different social media platforms. So you can get mileage out of it 6 months from now or a year from now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the thing, right? So in the past, I think I've typically looked at content marketing as sort of trying to find those SEO holes, right? So you do some keyword research, you try and find out what's underrepresented, but that's not necessarily speaking to an actual need that you see. And the one that I did was something I see constantly in Facebook groups. And when I'm onboarding a new client, especially a launch client, this is actually a piece of content that I would like to be able to share with them and then help them walk through the process as part of that launch package. So I was really also trying to make my life a little bit easier by doing this particular one.
Exactly. And that's why I have a Zoom call one that I shared, because I didn't make it because I feel so passionate about Zoom calls. I made it because I was literally frustrated repeating the same information over and over again. Mm-hmm. And now I can use it on not just my blog or use it on social media. I can put it in courses, right? And I can, aggregate it with all my other stuff and then resell it or use it in onboarding materials. So that one piece of content has a lot of usage. And there was something else you said that I thought was kind of brilliant, but I can't remember.
Well, I hope it was smart.
Yes, it was. So you were talking about SEO. And I think that if you don't need to worry so much about SEO, especially these days. You don't have to worry so much about SEO as long as you're calling what you're writing about, what you're that's it. You just need to be how to make separate tracks on a Zoom call, right? Or something like name it what it is. Don't try to do any fancy or cutesy titles or, just be descriptive and you don't have to worry about keywords, right? Don't even worry about the SEO. As long as you're describing something accurately, that's fine.
Or I actually
got a lot
did
to
worry
say
about the SEO too.
Yes, but that's because you're you.
I've got my nerd badge. It's invisible now.
Yeah, but you totally don't have to worry about the SEO as long as you are, describing something accurately. You're going to hit those keywords anyway, right?
Yeah. So how about you? You wrote the challenge, but how was going through the process for you? Like, how did that work out?
So I used it to tweak what I already had going on. So, and I almost wasn't writing the challenge so I could like go through do another piece of content, and I just didn't get to it. But there was the Google My Business part. This is the part I really enjoyed. Just really odd.
Wait, I'm the nerd?
I know.
Oh,
So it was actually Jennifer who turned me on to Google My Business.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've been on it a couple of years.
Yeah. And so what I did is I just kind of tweaked my Google My Business. I added t-shirts from TeePublic. I added some quote unquote posts. I still don't know what they do, to be frank.
In a Google search, it'll come up on the right. Your posts they'll show up.
So that's another place to put that content then, like that helpful content. And then I took advantage of the $100 ad credit.
Yeah.
And I didn't do anything fancy with Google Ads because I don't know how to. And I just did it in my my area, like my local area, like 50-mile radius or something. It's already earned me like $700.
Wow.
Yeah. So I am kind of impressed. Like I couldn't tell you how I did it, except for I just put in my like what I did. Like again, like with SEO, I just said what I did. And I ended up getting two jobs from it, actually. So
wow.
Local to you in your area.
Well, as the crow flies. So
but still.
Yeah. Like I could drive there. I mean, it'd be a long drive, but yeah.
That's cool.
So that was fun.
Nice. I didn't have that experience. I'm looking forward to having something like.
Well, I kind of could, because I never really believed that Google Ads worked ever.
Oh.
So it was kind of like, and I was just like, all right, they're going to give me money. I'm just going to try it. So I feel like we should have somebody come on and talk about Google Ads because I see other podcast editors' ads show up in Google. I'm like, nobody clicks this. Apparently they do.
Huh.
So there you go. I found my most recent launch client found me through Google. I don't have Google Ads running, but he was looking for someone like me and found me through a search. So people are looking.
Were they local to you?
He's in Kentucky.
Yeah, because the one thing about Google My Business is you'll show up in local search if that person's local to you.
He's not exactly local, but he's in my state.
Yes.
Kind of like what you're saying is like, well, they're not in my area, but I can drive there.
Yeah. And again, it's COVID too. So we're not actually like really driving. Like I'm not driving to anybody. Wasn't really before that, but yeah, I just thought it would be fun to play with.
So you sparked an interesting question in my head because you're talking about Google My Business, and I have one set up, but I don't typically post content there. What I've been doing is for this particular piece of content that I wrote, I'm also sending the marketing materials over to Google My Business as, I don't know, whatever they call posts to Google My Business. I don't know what they're called. Is that a valuable strategy to do? Like, does that make a difference?
I'm sure it adds to SEO in some particular way, shape, or form. But like Jennifer says, when they search, it comes up on the left. Like if your business comes up, does your post come up as well?
Yeah. If you look like if your Google My Business shows up on the right-hand side of your screen, then underneath that, it'll show your posts. Like, it'll show the little map of where you are and say your name real big, and then it'll show pictures and stuff.
Yeah, and I do see those posts showing up in that little sidebar thing.
Mhm.
I just didn't know if there was any advantage to it.
The one problem I think with Google's like as a like using it as a business, like being the account owner, is that I feel like you don't see it like the customer would see it, and that drives me nuts. Like there's no way to preview what it would look like in search that I have found yet.
So
I go to a different computer and look.
yeah, I just open up a browser window that's what is that? Secure.
Incognito.
That
yes, I just taught my husband what that meant. So
I forgot it had a name.
Yeah,
incognito.
And that is why I'm in a mastermind, because I need people to tell me some things that are pretty obvious. Yeah, that's really cool. The one thing I love about Google Business too, though, when I look up my own website, is I can see all those stats right there. Right? How many times it's shown up in search, how many, times it's been clicked, how many. So it's like a little mini analytics right there that I don't have to like decode. So I feel like other Google Analytics require a degree.
I haven't checked mine in a while. Now you're making me want to check my Google Analytics and But yeah, I'm afraid to check them because I think it'll be 0.
Oh, it won't. I guarantee you it won't. Because
nobody's looking for me.
Well, we were looking for you right before this started, so that there's somebody looking for you.
Oh, that's just because I lost track of time and I was looking at Bernie memes.
Nice.
And if you haven't seen those today, oh my gosh, you're missing out.
Oh no, I totally have. I totally have.
Anyway, sorry.
So, for social posting, one of the I like to use right now is Social Bee. Do you guys have any preferred tools that you use for the social portion of your marketing?
I have used a few different things in the past, but I'm not doing anything other than native Facebook scheduling because Facebook likes you to use its platform. Your stuff will show up more if you stay within the Facebook platform instead of using Buffer or Hootsuite or whatever. But that's all I use right now. Well, for podcast stuff, and I'm not even using it regularly because I'm not doing any marketing right now because I'm not actively looking for clients right now. So I don't want to do much overt marketing. Yeah. Because I'm afraid I'm getting clients and all my old clients are coming back. So I definitely don't have room to take on new clients. So I don't want to market myself to new clients. I'll just, But that's my excuse for not doing the challenge.
Okay. Because I'm going to challenge you a little bit. Do you think that you need to take clients even if you continue to market yourself? Like what? You can always say no.
I can always say no, but I just don't even want to. If people come to me from referrals and stuff, like is where I find people. That's one thing. And like I was talking about, the newest launch client found me through a Google search, and I haven't done anything on that in a while.
But you have in the past.
In the past, I have, yes. In the past, I've been active on lots of different things and posting lots of different things and using tools and
you've done marketing with local people in your area, like done networking stuff with the Chamber of Commerce and the TV station. I think it was.
I don't recommend doing that.
Okay, but it's out there.
I did do it. Yes,
right. So it's all out there, and you've written articles and done all these other things. And so
write an article, I just repurpose it, like we were talking about. Now, when people ask me questions, like, go read my article that I wrote this one time, because I don't feel like telling you the same thing I tell everybody.
Right. But so you're kind of like at that, it's been a while, but so there's been some space between creating all that content and, not wanting any clients right now. And yet it's still performing for you.
Yeah.
So even though you didn't do the challenge, it's still like, I learned a lot of this from you anyway.
Oh,
right.
She learned it from me. I don't need to do the challenge. I challenged you without even knowing it.
Yeah. It just took me like a year to get around to it. But yeah, so I'm not using any kind of scheduler. I would like to. However, I have not been that organized lately. So I have Social Bee, and they give me reports every week, and I don't even put up content. So that's very nice of them. But I use like Instagram for sure does not allow you in most cases to put up scheduled content at all.
So
you know how to get around
Zapier. Social Bee with Zapier will post to Instagram.
But it doesn't post it automatically. You have to click it on your phone. No,
it posted automatically.
Okay, because it was clicking it by your phone, and all I would do with that is like go away.
Yeah, it gets me right in the middle of a meeting. I'm like, well, I'll never remember this, but thanks for the reminder. I'll get back to this on Tuesday.
Right. So I post on, but I do like have all the images. Like I'll sit down and make a batch of images in Adobe Spark, like once a month, so that I always do have something to post. Or when I take pictures, I will take extra pictures of like things that might be useful to put on Instagram later.
Nice.
I'm a Canva user, and if you are a Canva user out there and you are not a pro user, invest the money. It's so worth the money to be a pro user on Canva, because then you get better photos, you get the resizing. I can't go back now. I tried to use the free version recently. I'm like, what are my features?
Yeah, well, I have Canva too. So I have a pro Canva, and then of course the Adobe Spark comes with the Adobe subscription, the Creative Cloud subscription. So, I do both.
I use the free version of Canva. I used to use the paid version, but I bought Relay that because it was an AppSumo one-time deal, and I'm kind of like Daniel. I'm trying to get away from those subscriptions as much as I can. And I've never seen Canva offer any kind of buy once and use forever thing, because I'd probably give them $200-$300 to use it forever.
Yeah.
Because I'll use it. But I think, what is it like now? $15 a month?
Something like that.
But $99.
If you're using it, because I use it for work. So I'm using it every day, and I can't go back. They've got me.
I think they've got a lot of us. I love Canva for making PDFs. Even over Adobe, like I love Canva because it's so much. I feel like it's so much easier, and it just it appeals to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a graphic designer. I cannot do it. I cannot create something from scratch. I can't.
I don't ever create anything from scratch anymore.
Yeah.
I just use somebody else's template, and then I just like delete all the stuff I don't want. And then I change the fonts and colors. And that's
People are like, oh my gosh, you did such a good job on this graphic. I'm like, yeah, Canva template. So that's a tool I use in marketing is Canva.
Nice.
If that's a kind of the question.
So Carrie, one of the things I've been wondering is the challenge. I never really kept up with the audience response. Did we have any feedback from people that were going through the challenge other than you and me and Daniel? Steve? I didn't see that.
So I don't know what Steve said, but I know like Julie Ballou. I'm sorry, Julie, if I'm not saying your name right. She was all in. Right. And she really enjoyed it. We had some people who did send some emails just like, this is really helpful. Great. I love this. This is so what I needed. Not a ton of questions, but I'm hoping that's because it was explained so clearly. This is not always my forte. And so I really did try to make it super simple and super easy to do. But yeah, I mean, the feedback was good. There may have been some questions. I mean, Steve have a question about Google Business or something.
It was Google My Business he was talking about. I
That
don't
would
think it was
be
a
Steve
question.
Stewart
Yeah,
from the
Steve
Podcast
Stewart.
Editors Club. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and Podcast Editors Academy.
Yes. I'm a member. If you're listening, you should be a member. It's a great place for podcast editors to grow their businesses. Just throw that out there.
Yeah, and throwing out there that they're doing some exciting stuff as well. Recently.
Have you guys added your DAW yet?
No. I will get there, I promise. Anyway, yeah, what did Steve have to say? Did you?
I can't find it now. Did you make all of the posts from the thing go away?
That sounds like something I would do. By accident.
I was like, where are all the challenge posts? Am I in the wrong place?
Yeah,
Am I on the page instead of the group or something?
You guys have been chatty lately. So you got to scroll way down. And also, it's not always easy to see because I used GIFs mostly. I'm
not seeing it.
So.
Okay.
Wait, no, I got it.
That. I was just interested.
Oh, so Julie wanted to know what business category we fell under. That's an interesting question because I had this question again about like the what business are we actually in when it comes to like official documents, and those two things kind of tie together. I think on Google Business there is like an audio.
Oh yeah. I think I chose music production studio because I couldn't find anything else for mine.
Yeah, it was, but I have it on my. Oh wait, I have it on my. Let me view my profile, and I will pull it up real quick. Maybe I don't have it. Maybe they would make it a little bit easier. Okay, so this is the one thing I hate about Google My Business is that it is not so easy to use.
Yeah, because I'm looking at your profile and I can't tell what category you fit in.
Media company is what I put.
Okay.
I feel like that's open-ended. That's what I used. Media company. But I know in Google Ads, definitely there's like an audio visual, like some sort of audio and visual category that fit. So yeah.
Explore categories, podcast editing. What am I looking at for that?
Podcast editing?
Explore categories. What if I click on that? Oh, that's your products.
Oh yeah. So you have my my products.
Your products.
But other than that,
it's not even there. More about.
But it's not on there. I think that might be kind of an internal thing. So if that's the case, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Oh, I'm marketing consultant. That's what mine says. I typed in Bourbon Barrel Podcasting in the search bar in Google, and it says marketing consultant.
No, mine doesn't say anything. But I feel like it comes across in the name, right?
Yeah. So I think what we're getting here is none of us can quite figure it out.
And that's the problem with Google is they're getting better, but they're not real intuitive, like in how they let you interact with their stuff. They're not very user friendly when it comes to business. Like there's still things on Google Drive I just don't understand. Like their dashboard, no clue. I just don't even go there. I just pretend it doesn't exist. Don't So, but don't let stuff like that stop you from doing it. Just pick it, stick it. Don't worry about it. Go back and change it later. It's not a huge deal. It will not end your business. The important part is to claim it, right? Because if you don't, then the person who happens to think of your company name too and wants to go into business with it can potentially claim it. And then it could get all sticky if you don't have a trademark. And I am not a lawyer. It's not legal advice. This is just,
Yeah. I've never heard somebody say, man, I'm so glad I waited till the last minute to claim that name. Just saying. I can't remember ever hearing that before.
Yeah. So, what was the question? No, that was.
I don't know. I'm all hung up and going down the Google My Business rabbit hole here.
I know, right? But see, there's a lot of, then you can start to see, like instantly, I can see how many views I've had this month. And all sorts of things when I just look at my profile. So that's what makes it close. I can see that I'm closed.
I see that you're closed.
I don't even have any hours. What are you talking about?
Oh, I feel like I need to put hours on there because
I can't put hours because I'm never open.
Oh, that's true. Because yours is a side hustle.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then there you go.
I think I need to update my stuff.
Oh yeah, because yours is a side hustle now too.
Well, I'm selling my. No, I still have the studio. I'm not selling the studio.
Right, but the building.
But the building, I'm not going to have. So I need to. Now I need to stop looking at this because.
So Jennifer's like now actively doing work, doing business planning.
Oh, do it when I can,
though.
right?
That's great though. That means you got all into it and we're excited.
Yeah.
And ready to get started. So you can go back and do the challenge. You just take a glance at it because again, a lot of it came from you.
This thing has already been claimed. I know.
So that actually, in my mind, that kind of raises an interesting question though, right? Because we've been talking about marketing and Jennifer brought up the whole, I'm not comfortable marketing right now because of all this transition. Like, what's your thought process like in terms of how to approach those kinds of transitions where you've got something that you're very seriously moving toward, but maybe not ready to be public with it? Like, how do you approach that without going dark?
Are you asking?
Are you asking me?
I don't know.
Okay. No, because I'm kind of in the middle of this right now. Like seriously, I'm getting ready to, or kind of hashing out with the next iteration of my business, and I think I'm going to do some rebranding. I just post old content. Honestly, it's just a lot of older content. It's a lot of also I've been doing some more personal posts and funnier posts, so not anything too serious because it's not like I don't want a bunch of clients right now because the fellowship's getting ready to start back up. But I do want to be ready when the fellowship's over and I can get back to a full client load to like hit the ground running. So no, it's just I'm hanging out. I'm hanging out with everybody, and that's kind of how I approach it. Like, not too serious.
And I guess part of the reason I'm wondering is so thinking about I think I've shared some of this with you as well, that I'm looking to transition a little bit away from what I would call it the mostly DIY podcaster. Mm-hmm. So I do the editing for them, but primarily they're the host, the producer, the social media, like they do all of the things except the editing. And I really want to move more toward a done for you model, but I'm not ready yet to start putting out marketing materials for that because I've got to work on the back office stuff. I don't want to promote something I can't sell, but by the same token, it feels a little bit weird to go, okay, I actually want to start targeting this customer, getting to know this customer, but all the material I'm putting out right now is for the DIY podcaster.
So I would do the client avatar, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that some of your client avatar may still be DIY. Like even if it's just bigger business, it may actually serve like work for both, because it's not so much about like it's not so much about what they're doing in podcasting, but what they're doing in life, right? And what their goals are. And this is where like Bonnie Frank explains this really well. I do not so much. And if you don't know Bonnie Frank, she's Business Fabulous, and you can find her all over Clubhouse right now. Or I think bonniefrank.com or businessfabulous.com. I'm not sure which, but we will find out which. And so really developing that avatar for the client you actually want, right? Or the type of client you want, because you can either be ready with all those marketing materials when you're make that switch, or you can just kind of hone that voice that you're speaking to them in now as you make the switch. Like, that would be my recommendation. And that's kind of what I've been doing. I'm kind of stuck in this weird place where I want to do that too, but I don't want, I'm still going to be me, right? I'm not going to put on a suit. I'm not getting rid of the cat. Like, I can't solve the cat problem. I don't want to, I'm not corporate, and I'm not going to pretend to be corporate at all, but it doesn't mean I can't serve more corporate clients, and I do, right? Or like medium-sized businesses even. So trying to find that way that works for me, right? Because one of the jobs I just got with the Google business, and that's one of the reasons I kind of wanted to try it, because the DIY podcaster is probably not going to click on a Google ad. Maybe they are, but I felt like no. I felt like that was something that more, and so I tested the theory, right? And it turns out, so now I've got somebody who's willing to spend a lot of money on a particular project. Does that make any sense? I feel like I'm just rambling. I don't have all the answers, Brian.
What? No. This is our MO. Is I come with questions and you guys answer them. That's how this works.
But I feel like
you guys are my smart people.
Don't wait.
Okay.
To start testing things. Don't wait. Like, I have faith that Jennifer's the kind of person where she can set her mind on something and boom, it's done. Like, she's just, yeah. But you already know you already have all the superpowers. So what would be your advice, Jennifer? You already have all the superpowers.
I'm like, well, what am I doing right now? I have gone dark. You asked the question, what do you do instead of going dark? But I've kind of gone dark. So I don't have because the original question was, right, how do you continue your marketing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Somebody can get down my rambling in post, please.
I think that was at the end. What I should be doing is repurposing that article more, even it just trickling out.
The one for the business journal that you wrote?
Yeah, I wrote an article for the Lexington Business Journal, or Business Lexington, or whatever it's called. Sorry, Smiley Pete, I'm getting the name of your thing wrong. The article was basically answering all the questions I get about how do I get started with a podcast. So I just boiled it all down into one, and it was like a Q&A. I think they called it the Biz Q&A or something. I don't know, or Biz IQ or something. And they edited it to make me sound weird in a couple places, but still it's decent. I'm like, setting up your digital audio workstation.
I mean, I don't need any help to sound weird, but whatever.
Well, I have a voice for newspaper, and that doesn't always work when an editor comes along and doesn't understand what you're trying to say, and they make you make no sense. Anyway, that's what I should be doing, is repurposing that, but I'm not. I'm just hanging out, and every once in a while I remember that I have a Google My Business, or I remember that I have a website, and I go to it and go, oh, look, it's still there. And I wear podcast t-shirts still some, and get into conversations with people about that. Like, oh, I have one from Stitcher. This is, I love podcasting on it. And people are like, oh, you love podcasting? What podcasts do you listen to? I'm like, oh, well, actually, I'm an editor, blah, blah, blah. And then they think I'm really cool. Or I have the I'm a professional podcast editor sticker from the Podcast Editors Conference.
Oh.
And people see it on my phone and go, oh, you're a podcast editor. Very cool. So I'm not doing like big marketing, but I do have the podcast editor sticker on my phone that anyone who sees my phone laying around can see that. So it's not like, I guess it's not like I'm doing nothing, but I'm not actively trying.
Yeah. I guess the takeaway that I'm getting from you is get out of your head, Brian. You don't have to get it perfect.
Right.
In order to do it. Of
Right.
course,
And
you guys know me. I want it perfect, right?
Yeah. I get it.
Like, we've been talking about the disc profile some with work planning stuff and whatever, and you're totally like a C, man. The overthinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you are, a C.
Yeah. So, Brian, the first thing I recommend you do is make a spreadsheet.
Done. With just the one spreadsheet, or
it could have multiple, like it could have phases.
It could be a workbook.
So, yeah, workbook, so that you have like iteration 1, iteration 2, and just start testing things out.
I just jump in and do it and see what sticks. I don't spreadsheet.
Yeah, throw spaghetti at the wall, man.
Yep.
And I know some of that is doing market research, right? So when you, like, what Jennifer's really saying is she's talking to people. And they're talking to her. So she's making it easy for people to strike up conversations with her. And so when she hears her ideal customer, she can like be like, oh, this is what they're asking, right? This is what they want to know. This is their idea of podcasting. This is what they're saying they need. So she didn't have to do anything with that, but she can hold on to that data for later, right?
I plant seeds too.
She's a farmer.
not necessarily harvest any, not much, but when I work with realtors now, and one of my clients is a real estate agent, not in my brokerage, but still, I'll mention that to the agents I work with. I'm like, oh yeah, well, podcast. One guy came in and did some videos, and it sounded like crap. I was like, wow, your sound's kind of rough there, buddy. I'm a podcast editor, and if you ever want to, do audio only, let me know. And so, just trying to plant little seeds.
Yeah, it's not so. Yeah, I feel like we think marketing needs to have big returns like immediately, and again, like podcasting, it is a long game, right? And that's why I don't feel like pressured to do, like, I'm going to make 30 posts for 30 days, or like, no, first of all, I can't. And I won't. I just know me. I'm not going to do that. But I know that and that's why I did the marketing challenge the way I did, because it's just, so you can take everything from the marketing challenge and then you can like repeat it again later when you feel like it. But you have content to play with, and stuff and things. But and that pre-work. Okay, I can't stress this enough, but like day 0 is the most important day.
Yeah, I feel like I'm about 75% there on the day 0 materials.
Yeah,
that's a lot on day 0.
Yeah. You got to do is get your website set up, make sure it's easy to navigate, and get all your social profiles set up. Nothing to do before the challenge starts. Thanks, Carrie.
And I did say that the website was like a living, breathing thing. So it's just a work in progress. Just get it, basically have a website. Make it as easy as possible for people to give you their money. And that's it. Because when we put barriers between us and the people who want to work with us, they're not going to work with us. And then you're not going to get paid. And then you're going to wonder why you don't have clients. And it's kind of like the podcaster who asked, how do I grow my audience? Right? Well, does anybody know that you have a podcast? And then do you do more than just shout, I have a podcast?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's why day zero, I think, is that's what I say in my audits all the time. I mean, that's it. I could just put that on autopilot when I work with podcast editors who want to be like, grow their business. And I'm like, well, you might want to let people know that you do the work. Then you might want to give them a place to, like, I don't know, give you money or schedule some time with you to give you money.
Yeah. That's like my experience going through Facebook groups. Every once in a while, you'll find somebody that says, hey, I'm having this problem on my podcast. And like, no link. You go to their profile, no mention of the podcast name or anything like that. So you're thinking, how am I supposed to help this person? Well, the same thing happens if you say, if somebody says, hey, I need a podcast editor, and they're looking around, if they don't know that you do it and they can't find you, then how are they ever going to hire you? That's a very good point.
And they want to work with somebody who presents themselves professionally as well. So if it's a choice between you and the person who has all that information clearly laid out and makes it super simple, which one are you going to choose? The person who made it hard or the person who made it simple?
And I think that's the thing, right? Because I think it's easy to get stuck on professional and think corporate, stuffy, it's competent and prepared. That's how I think about it. Like, I want to work with somebody. Like, if I was going to hire somebody to do video editing, I want somebody who knows what they're talking about, who can very clearly communicate, this is what it's going to cost you, this is what you're going to get, and can give me a timeline and then deliver on that. Like,
so I'm not going to lie, real world experience with a video editor. So shout out to Worker Bee Media, because when I was looking for a video editor, that's exactly what she did. She just made it super clear, like, here's what I offer. Here's the price I'm going to quote you. Here the term, like, it was almost like a proposal, but like in a friendly way. And then when I was like, she was like, do you want to like work with me? And I'm like, yay, I want to work with you. Because I didn't have to hunt for anything. I could see her samples like right there. Like, one email. It was one email and I had everything I need to make a decision. And then she sent me another email and then I had everything I needed to like understand the terms and pay. And then I just gave her a link. And then a few weeks later, just got all my videos back. Right. And or like I gave her the brand asset. Like, it was like, I feel like it was literally like 3 steps to get like 12 videos done or 10 videos done.
Nice.
And so that's that kind of convenience, especially when you're working with somebody who's running a business. Because they don't have a lot of time. So how do you make it easy for them?
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the opposite experience I've had is occasionally people will contact us and want to edit, which is great. We want to give people the opportunity to do that for their portfolio. But if they can't read the instructions and can't communicate that they understand what we're asking, it makes it really hard to have confidence that it's going to turn out right. Now, that's not saying that it doesn't. But if I had 2 people who both asked and said, hey, can I do your show? And one of them takes the request and says, yeah, I can totally do this. Or, I've got a question about this. That's great. The other person, you don't hear from them for 3 days. And then they say, well, wait a minute. What do you mean do this? Like, what do you mean you want the breaths left in? Well, that person doesn't inspire confidence. The same thing happens up front on your website when they're looking at it and go, does this person even appear to have a package? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a package that meets your needs, but do they even understand that people are looking for more than one service maybe? Yeah.
And is it delivered in a way that's clear? Right. Because I think the way we communicate Right? No, I've literally had people say, I'm so glad that like because in my like, I guess top third of my packages page, I kind of lay out what it is. We EQ you, so you sound good. We level you so people can hear you, and we clean up, just like I put it in, I can't even remember what it is. I wrote it a long time ago. But I've had people thank me for just putting it in super simple, like clear language. Right.
Nice.
So using layman's terms, and they're appreciative of that because they're like, quite frankly, I didn't know what it meant. And if they're looking at other podcast editors, there's a place for text speak. It's not when you're trying to sell the client necessarily.
No, that's what you talk to another editor about when you want to hire an editor, right? You say they're the standards that we deliver to our clients because there's flexibility, right? Some people cut out all the ums. If that's what you do, then you want to communicate that to your editor. It's not what I do. I don't think it sounds natural.
Yeah. And your client doesn't care about luffs.
No.
So
in fact, they're probably looking at it like all of a sudden it looks like in their head and they're going back to drafting class in 11th grade going, oh, that scared me.
Yeah. I don't care. They just want the work done and they just want to sound good. So, this may seem like it doesn't have anything to do with marketing, but it actually does because this is all the communication, the touch points that your potential client is going to have with you. And marketing is about taking that and communicating effectively and in a way that has a conversation with the client that the potential client understands, right? Because there's no point in shouting over them. People tend to not like that.
Yeah. So do we have time to do the Poddex question today?
Yes, but there's one. So. Well, maybe okay. So there was an interesting question in our podcast editors mastermind Facebook group, or an interesting situation.
Okay.
So I think it was, I want to say it's Vanessa, or Vivian, like Vivian. Beautiful name. Actually, that's not important. The situation was her friend started a podcast, essentially. The podcast did not sound good. Vanessa is a podcast editor and said, I'd be happy to help you with. The friend said, no, thanks. My husband's an audio producer. And Vanessa realized that the husband was using GarageBand with the reverb checked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my question is, as a podcast editor, how would you handle that? Because I almost posted to Vanessa as a response, like, oh, I totally would tell her that she sounds terrible and it needs to be fixed. But then I was like, but would I? Like, that's easier to say when it's not your friend.
I would ask what they're currently doing. I'll be like, oh, yeah, I was listening to your show. What's your setup like? And if they say, I'm using a Blue Yeti in an echo chamber, you'd be like, oh, I thought so.
Well, I guess because the friend's husband was editing it as well.
That's awkward.
So that adds another layer to it. So
I still try to, even with my clients, that's how I go. I ask I don't say, wow, that sounded bad. I say like, well, what's your current setup? What are you doing here? And like troubleshoot without them knowing I'm troubleshooting. And then if they say, oh, I'm using a Blue Yeti in an echo chamber, say, well, if you got some moving blankets, that would help you. But hi, you have reverb checked on GarageBand, you moron. Is not, probably not what you want to say.
Yeah. I think for me, so they've already started the conversation, said, hey, do you want some help? And they said, no, it sounds great. My husband's an audio engineer. Then I might respond with a real world thing and say, okay, well, I just wasn't quite sure because when I'm driving in my car, it's really hard to hear the words that you're saying. And it makes me think that maybe there's something in the recording that's creating some additional, that's making it a little bit less intelligible. And just let me know if you've got some questions. I'm glad to share anything, and just, I guess, leave it at that, because at least then you're sharing how it's impacted you and saying, hey, I understand that you think this sounds great. I can't understand the words you're saying. Because that's what reverb does. You listen in your car with reverb on, and not the good reverb, like that tiny little bit you get with radio. I'm talking like, the hall reverb that GarageBand puts on everything, or at least it used to. It was on my first 50. Don't listen to my first 50 episodes. It was so bad. But that, when you're listening in your car, you can't hear the words, and you just share that and say, okay, if you'd like to talk about this, let me know. And maybe they take it, maybe they don't. It's their show.
Well, that is brilliant advice, because my first thought was to laugh. I'm like, really? And then my second thought was, I'd probably just leave it at that. Like, if they don't, sometimes I feel like if they think they sound great, and I've already said, like, kind of initiated the conversation, do I have to give that critique, or can I just wait and be ready for when they're like, Carrie, we got this feedback and I don't know what to do about it, or how to even approach it with my husband, who doesn't know what he's doing, apparently. But I thought that was an interesting kind of dilemma.
Yeah.
So, and also, I cannot fix everybody's podcast. So, that's the other thing. Because then if you say, okay, well, it has this issue and I couldn't hear it, or like, I couldn't hear it, so you may want to, then I have to be prepared for the follow-up. Like, can you help me? Right. And how many hours is that going to take? God, I guess don't be my friend. This story. Don't be my friend. Or if you're I should just have editor friends. But seriously, it is like, I also don't want my friends. Okay. Anyway, so it's like a kind of a moral dilemma for me. But yeah, I'd probably do what you said, Brian. I'd probably ask you guys, and then Brian would tell me what to do, and Daniel would say thumbs up, and then that would be what I did.
And I wouldn't respond because my notifications are off.
And that's the value of a mastermind like this, right? So I guess for those listening, if you've got that question and you're thinking, how do I do this? Maybe you want to be a guest on the show. What do you guys think? Should we have somebody on the show that has a question?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, because I feel like we've kind of workshopped ourselves tonight. And
so, Brian, how do people get on the show?
Oh, it's super hard. We've made it as impossible as possible. That was fun to say, by the way. You go to podcasteditorsmastermind.com/be a guest. That's all one word, podcasteditorsmastermind.com/be a guest. Fill out the little form just to let us know a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get back with you. We've got Carrie set up a beautiful booking link so that you can select a time that works on your calendar, and then we can put it together and we can all just feel wonderful about ourselves. So podcasteditorsmastermind.com/be a guest.
Could you maybe throw it up on the screen?
I could, but that's hard. That's so hard because I'm talking.
It's like, I can't. I don't have that screen.
I guess I could, right?
There, got it.
Okay. All right. Do you want to do a podcast question?
Actually, I don't have time. I've got to get the kids in bed.
Oh, those silly kids.
Yeah, I know. They're happy to stay up, but I got to get them in bed, or the morning really kind of stinks.
Right. Well, okay. Well, I guess that's all we have then. Thank you everyone for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Julie Ballou, for doing the challenge. So enthusiastic. We love you. And thank you, Daniel, for being here in spirit. I'm Carrie Caulfield. Eric, you can find me at Yaya Podcasting.
I'm Jennifer Longworth, Bourbon Barrel Podcasting.
And I'm Brian Ensminger, toptieraudio.com.
And we will see you next time live at our new time at 8:05 p.m. Eastern.
Yay.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.